Welcome to Health Unlocked. If you've ever counted calories, hit a plateau, and wondered, what am I missing? This video is for you. Today, we're unpacking a set of powerful ideas from Dr. Jason Fung that challenge the conventional calories in, calories out model and replace it with a hormone-first understanding of metabolism. You'll hear directly from Dr. Fung at key moments, and I'll connect the dots before, between, and after his clips so the whole story flows. We'll cover why the eat less, move more rule often backfires, how insulin acts like a one-way switch for fat storage, what actually happens to your metabolism and hunger when you fast, and why many doctors secretly use intermittent fasting themselves. Stick around to the end for an actionable overview you can discuss with your healthcare provider. Let's start where most diets do, with calories. Dr. Jason Fung argues that the way we've been taught to think about calories, namely that a calorie is a calorie, is incomplete at best and misleading at worst. He opens with a simple but devastating example: broccoli versus cookies.
So this is the calories model. And the idea is that food contains energy, and you measure that food energy as calories. And some people believe that really that's all you need to know about weight gain. A calorie is a calorie. You hear that all the time. And the idea is that all calories are equally fattening, right? Because if you eat 100 calories of broccoli, it's just as fattening as 100 calories of cookies.
Dr. Fung's point isn't that energy doesn't matter, it's that biology is not a bomb calorimeter. Your body is an endocrine system first. Different foods carry different hormonal instructions, and those instructions set your body's priorities: store, burn, build, or repair. That's where his hormonal model comes in. Listen carefully to how Dr. Jason Fung reframes food from mere fuel into information.
But there's another sort of idea that's sort of a hormonal model, which is similar but a little bit more inclusive. That is, yes, food contains energy, but it also contains information. That is, the response to what we eat is different. We know that. That's just a fact. If you eat cookies, for example, your insulin is going to go way up. Your blood glucose is going to go way up. If you eat salmon or an egg with no carbs, for example, it's not going to go up. And those hormones are instructions as to what our body is supposed to do. And both of these are important.
This is the pivot. Calories influence weight, but hormones determine the direction, store, or burn. Among those hormones, Dr. Fung consistently emphasizes insulin. If insulin is high, storage wins. If insulin is low, access to stored energy opens up. Understanding this helps explain why the classic eat less, move more plan so often stalls. The trap is simple. You reduce calories, the body senses scarcity, and then it compensates by lowering energy expenditure, the calories outside. Dr. Jason Fung argues that this is a built-in survival feature, not a moral failure. Here's Dr. Jason Fung dismantling the oversimplified thermodynamics argument behind just eat less.
So when you talk about people who just say, well, just eat less and you're going to lose weight, this is what they're talking about. They say, well, if you eat fewer calories, then you're going to have a lower body fat because of the first law of thermodynamics and so on. What they're assuming is that the metabolic rate, or your calories out, stays the same. That's not necessarily true, because the first law of thermodynamics doesn't say that you're going to lose body fat. Remember, there's 3 variables. So if you simply reduce the variables in calories in, you could just as easily balance that equation by keeping body fat the same and lowering your metabolic rate. That is, you reduce calories in, and your body burns less calories, and your body fat stays the same. So it doesn't break the laws of thermodynamics, which is one of the things that people always say, well, just eat less, you're going to lose weight. No, not necessarily. It makes no such statement at all. It's a complete misunderstanding of the laws of thermodynamics. So the question is, what happens in real life? If you eat fewer calories, do you lose body fat, or does your metabolic rate go down?
If you're enjoying this, hit subscribe so you don't miss more health insights. Theory is one thing, data is another. Dr. Fung often cites a landmark study from the 40s to show what happens when humans are put on controlled calorie restriction for an extended period. The body fights back by throttling metabolism. Here's Dr. Jason Fung summarizing the Ansel Keys starvation experiment and its consequences.
Well, the first studies of this happened in the 1900s. So this was a study in 1944 by Dr. Ansel Keys, and it was called The Biology of Human Starvation. And it was brought on because they wanted to know what happens to the human body if you don't have enough to eat. This is World War II. So they put people on a 40% reduction in calories, and they were eating 1,570 calories per day, which doesn't actually seem so bad. And it was mostly starchy, sort of low-protein, low-fat foods, because this is what was available in war-torn Europe at the time. So again, low-fat foods, this is actually pretty close to what we tell people to eat, 1,500 calories, low-fat foods. And what happened? Well, when they measured the metabolic rate, what they found was that their metabolic rate actually dropped by 40%. So these people, their heart volume shrank, their heart rate slowed, their body temperatures went down. So what they felt was they felt cold, they felt tired, they just felt terrible because their bodies weren't getting the energy that they needed to run all the organs, your heart and your liver and your brain and all that sort of stuff and generate body heat.
A 40% metabolic drop is not a minor adjustment, it's a full system energy ration. If your body cuts calories out that aggressively, long-term fat loss becomes an uphill battle. So if cutting calories alone isn't the answer, what is? Dr. Jason Fung directs our attention to the gatekeeper, insulin. Think of insulin as the storage command. When insulin rises after eating, especially refined carbs and sugars, your body prioritizes storing fuel in the short term as glycogen and beyond that capacity as fat. Crucially, when insulin is elevated, access to stored fat is restricted. That's not a moral narrative, it's biochemical policy. Dr. Jason Fung lays out this one-way switch dynamic clearly.
So this is the calories going in. So it's like energy, it's food energy. That's all it is. So I've depicted it here like coal in a coal-burning power plant, for example. When you eat, you're eating calories. Your body senses this because insulin goes up. And insulin is a nutrient sensor. It tells your body, hey, food is coming in. This is what you need to do. So you store some of it, right? So you generate sugar, like glycogen, right? Sugar, glucose molecules, you string them all together, stick them in the liver. That's glycogen. That's glycogen synthesis. If you have more glycogen, then you generate body fat, which is de novo lipogenesis. And that's one option. The other option is you burn it. So for metabolic rate, for exercise. What you can't do is you can't take stored fat or sugar and burn it because we know that insulin inhibits lipolysis.
So how do you flip the switch in the other direction, away from storage and toward fat access? Dr. Fung's answer: create time windows where insulin is low. That's the rationale for intermittent fasting. But you might be thinking, won't that put me into starvation mode? Dr. Jason Fung says the actual data show the opposite, at least in the short term. Here's Dr. Jason Fung on what happens to resting energy expenditure after several days of fasting.
Well, this is what actually happens. You take people and you measure them and you fast them for 4 days. At day 0, this is their weight, it's steadily going down. This is their resting energy expenditure, so how much they're burning, and this is their VO2, so the amount of work they're actually doing. So after 4 days of not eating, what you see is that they're burning about 10% more calories than they did at day 0. Your body's not shutting down, it's ramping itself back up. And again, why? It's basic physiology. Your sympathetic tone has gone up, your noradrenaline has gone up, and that's why. Interestingly enough, growth hormone has also gone up, which is very interesting because you'd think, why is growth hormone going up? Well, again, when you start to eat, you want that growth hormone up so that you are able to maintain your lean mass. This is, again, another study looking at human adipose tissue after 72 hours of fasting. So this is noradrenaline. So noradrenaline's just pumping itself up. That's the effect. And so when you look at resting energy expenditure, what happens? How much energy are you burning? You've gone from 1684 to 1729. After 3 days of no food, you're burning more energy than on day 0. So this whole idea that, oh, you're going to kill your metabolic rate is actually completely false. Because if you understood the hormonal effect of fasting, you would say, no, it should be the exact opposite. You should be going up. And that's what all our physiologic testing is showing. And once again, this is that study comparing 32 weeks of alternate daily fasting versus calorie restriction. And again, you see calorie restriction with a p-value of 0.045 means that they have dropped their metabolic rate. They're burning about 76 calories less per day with calorie restriction. Versus the alternate daily fasting, which is a p-value of 0.4, not significant. So if you're just trying to do calorie restriction, you're going to be more hungry, so you're going to increase your calories in. At the same time, you're going to be burning fewer calories because your resting metabolic rate went down. What's that going to do to body fat? Well, you just have to look at the energy balance equation. Increase calories in, lower calories out, you're going to gain body fat through calorie restriction. And of course, this is the standard advice we've been giving for 50 years, the one that's been so unsuccessful. If you want to be successful, you have to be able to decrease hunger and increase metabolic rate.
This finding reframes fasting. Short, intentional fasting windows don't force your body to idle, they mobilize internal energy and maintain, or even slightly increase, expenditure. The next concern is hunger. If fasting means relentless cravings, it won't be sustainable. Dr. Jason Fung highlights a lesser-known pattern. Hunger pulses in waves tied to habit, not a linear climb into misery. Watch how Dr. Jason Fung explains ghrelin spikes and why skipped meals don't make hunger spiral forever.
Well, this is ghrelin. So ghrelin is a hunger hormone, and you can measure it if you fast. So this is a study. They fasted people over 24 hours, and they measured ghrelin. So they have 3 spikes. Most people have 3 spikes: lunch, dinner, and breakfast. The interesting part is what happens if you don't eat lunch, for example. So you're busy, you're in, the OR, you're busy, you miss your lunch, you're hungry. But what happens is that ghrelin actually falls right back down to baseline. So by 4 o'clock, you're actually equally as hungry as if you had eaten. What happened? Well, your body just took the calories it needed from its stores. That's all. Same thing at dinner. You skip dinner, you're hungry. Yes, but then when you don't eat, your hunger actually just falls right back down to baseline.
In practice, that means hunger is trainable. If you don't feed the spike, it recedes. Over time, many people report fewer and smaller waves as their eating schedule stabilizes. With a metabolic rationale and a hunger pattern that's more manageable than expected, it's not surprising that clinicians themselves experiment with fasting. Dr. Jason Fung shares a revealing survey. Physicians may recommend one thing but personally choose another.
So this was a very interesting study of how do doctors lose weight. So they took a poll of 900 female doctors and said, what do you use to lose weight and what do you tell your patients? And these people were pretty successful, actually. So they weren't that overweight, but body mass index of 24.9. And they were able to lose 13.2 pounds on average. What did they do? Well, 75% of them use intermittent fasting. They didn't tell their patients to do it, like 25, 30%, but they did it for themselves. Why? Because if you want to lose weight, you're not going to go for that strategy that just doesn't work. You're going to go for the stuff that works, which is intermittent fasting.
Taken together, Dr. Jason Fung's message is consistent. Calories matter, but hormones, especially insulin, decide whether those calories get stored or burned. Chronic calorie restriction often triggers a metabolic slowdown, making weight loss stall despite discipline. Lowering insulin through food choices and time-restricted eating opens access to stored energy. Short-term fasting does not automatically drop the metabolic rate, it may increase it modestly. Hunger is pulsatile and adaptive, it passes if not reinforced. Many physicians quietly choose intermittent fasting for themselves. How does this translate into everyday choices? Dr. Jason Fung emphasizes 2 levers. 1. What you eat. Minimize ultra-processed carbs and sugars that spike insulin. Favor protein, fiber, and healthy fats to flatten insulin responses. 2. When you eat, consolidate meals into defined windows. whether that's a simple 12 to 14 hour overnight fast or structured patterns like 16 to 8 with periodic longer fasts as appropriate. The why is crucial. These patterns aren't about white-knuckle deprivation, they're about giving insulin time to fall so stored energy becomes available. It's a metabolic scheduling problem more than a math problem. Let's recap the through line in Dr. Jason Fung's work. The calorie model is incomplete because it ignores the hormonal instructions embedded in food. Insulin is the master switch for energy storage and retrieval. High insulin locks fat away. Calorie restriction without hormonal consideration leads to a metabolic tug-of-war and eventual plateau. Fasting windows, intelligently applied, lower insulin, keep metabolism resilient, and make stored energy usable. Hunger ebbs like a tide. Don't mistake a wave for a storm. Even doctors vote with their feet. Many choose intermittent fasting personally. Going forward, expect more research connecting meal timing, nutrient quality, and metabolic flexibility. Personalized approaches will likely blend fasting windows with protein adequacy, resistance training for lean mass, sleep optimization, and stress management, all synergizing to regulate insulin. Dr. Jason Fung's core principle will remain relevant. Treat food as information. When you choose what and when to eat, you're programming your hormones, not just filling a tank. If this perspective helped you reframe the problem, consider revisiting the clips to let each point sink in. And if you're thinking of making changes, work with a professional who understands both the calorie and hormonal models, then use them together intelligently. Thanks for watching Health Unlocks. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more expert-backed health insights. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.